The Philadelphia 76ers are a pathetic franchise. There's no other way of putting it. They're pathetic. They're made up of a bunch of losers. There's no other way I can look at it other than it's like every other franchise that I can think of. I can at least imagine them, going that extra yard. Now, look, I mean, they fired Doc Rivers. That was big news today from Woj that they fired Doc Rivers. This is another guy just a born loser. But I want to focus a little bit about one Mr. James Harden. Oh, James. James. I have a stat here. Let me pull it up. And it is quite sad. James Harden's fourth quarter scoring drought against the Celtics was worse than Ben Simmons' 2021 performance. Harden didn't score a single point in fourth quarters of Game 5 to Game 7 against Boston. Not 1 point, James, in the fourth quarter? Not one? In Game 7, winner go home? You can't score 1 point? You can't drive to the basket, draw a foul, and get one free throw? And there's the funniest part about this, to me, is there are teams that actually want to go get this guy. Why? Why? Because he's on highlight reels? Because he's a 10-time All-Star? Who cares? He can't win in the playoffs. He can't win when it matters. You want to talk about stat patterns? I mean, this guy's just like a born loser. Sorry. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. And again, it really upsets me because I really like what James Harden did for that MSU shooting victim. I thought that was really cool. And he didn't score a single point in the fourth quarter for 3 straight games. This is the NBA. Everybody scores. Everybody, I don't think I can't. There's probably some players on the Pistons that, don't score points. Hadn't scored points in the fourth quarter for some series of games. But honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't even know about that. As bad as the Pistons were, there's probably some players who just didn't score, but they were bench play. James Harden is a 10-time All-Star, a former MVP of this league. And he just routinely, every single year, he just folds. And he just doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's complaining after the game. Oh, whatever. Oh, we didn't do this. Oh, I was, It's like, dude, you scored 9 points. He scored 9 points in Game 7. Pivotal Game 7. It's just pitiful. And of course, they fire Doc Rivers. And look, I think Doc Rivers is as much of a choke artist as the next guy. But this guy really can't catch a break. This guy really can't catch a break. When it's yeah, obviously, you have to fire the coach at that point. I mean, he's blown 3-1 leads. He's blown plenty of leads in series before. He blew a lead this series. But to just look at the coach and be like, oh, that's the reason why they lost. No, James Harden was part of the reason you lost. Joel Embiid, who had 10 points or something like that in Game 7, he's the reason you lost. It's because you have guys who, I just it's as if we're living in this world in the NBA where players want to be on highlight reels, but they don't want to be on championship teams. It's like they want to be on highlight reels more than they want to be on championship teams. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. It's like, you'll be on a highlight reel if you're on a championship team. Do you understand? These things correlate. So it's like James Harden, as soon as the lights go on, Game 7, everybody's watching, Mother's Day, and you played like your mother, basically. They might as well have Mrs. Harden on. Because she probably would have scored about as much as James Harden did in the fourth quarter. Oh, wait, he didn't score, so she would score as much. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I really don't know what you do with James, with James, because I mean, I think the term born loser, it just sort of is adequate. Like, you just stink, James. You just stink when it matters, and you're a surefire Hall of Famer, and you're one of the great shooters of all time. Just looking at your stats, I'm looking at all the accolades and awards you've won. But as soon as, the rubber hits the road, James Harden is gone. James Harden's in the back of the bus. He's gone. He's already ready to go. He's ready to go home. And then the other thing, so I don't know if I put a source on this, but this whole Joel Embiid after the game, or first of all, there's a few no-nos in post-game losing things. So things you don't say in a post-game. I thought they had McKinstry out there. I was looking at that. Things you don't say in a post-game, okay? You don't blame the refs, because that's just everybody's going to make fun of you. And take responsibility. And Joel Embiid, it's kind of funny because he almost copied Giannis when he was talking. I don't know if he intentionally did this. I'm assuming he did. He talked about steps to success. Steps to success. Giannis won a championship. What have you done, Joel? Oh, you won the MVP. Great. How many points did you score in this game? Like 12? Oh, great. Game 7, pivotal. Season on the line. What do you do out there? The MVP, the reigning MVP. Oh, I'm going to score 12 points. And Joel Embiid goes on and says something along the lines of, I wish I had the exact quote. He says something along the lines of, me and James can't win by ourselves. And I was watching RDC World skit, and they made actually an interesting point in their joke. They said, good thing it wasn't just you and James, because if it was, we would have lost by even more. And it's like, yeah. Like, I think his overarching point is, obviously he had played some much better games in this series than he did last game. Same with James Harden. But the standard is still, you don't throw your teammates onto the bus. Because what is Tobias Harris thinking? What are all these other guys thinking? Like, you basically just said to them, hey, it's basically me and James Harden out there. When that's not even true. You weren't even a good player that game. You were like a net negative, essentially. But and one of the things I liked about Joel, basically before this whole thing, was he was someone who really never got into any sort of. He never said anything stupid at pressers. He never said anything bad about. I mean, really, he was pretty much a standard. He was vanilla in a lot of his temperament. I mean, he was a fun player to watch. Obviously, the guy's. I mean, he just is a good basketball player, but it's really upsetting. It's just upsetting to see him kind of make a stupid remark like that after a critical loss when he was the one who wasn't even playing.